Welcome to another episode of the State of the Bulldogs. Tonight we have Grant and Mike. The bulk of the show is going to be the basketball preview. We got Samford basketball, college basketball, SoCon basketball less than a week away or right at a week away. So for all of those people who have just not been able to wait since the terrible loss to Kansas, the time is almost here. Grant, Mike, how we doing? It's the World Series. Dodgers are up 3-0. But it's Tuesday night. The Yankees are battling back.
6 days, 5 days away from basketball. So
5 days, yeah. There you go.
We're there.
I got a nice little tease this weekend of Tennessee, Indiana, and cannot wait for some real basketball.
It was a little scrimmage that they showed on television.
Match it was a great matchup. Two top 20 teams. Indiana took it away from us by 4, but it was a great matchup.
Can Indiana be good again? I mean, I want the hype to be real. They have a fantastic arena, awesome fans, great uniforms. Please, Indiana.
Yeah. They look good. I mean, Tennessee's has no offense because Dalton Connect graduated, but otherwise
they'll find it.
Yeah.
No, this is a fun part of the year. College football is about to peak in November. Regular season wise, we have the playoff in the FBS this year, which is pretty exciting. Baseball is literally winding down, and then college basketball. And if you're an NBA fan, I guess the NBA has started. Not a big NBA guy, but that has kicked off, and I know a lot of people, especially here in Atlanta, love the NBA. In fact, I met a guy the other day who goes to every single Hawks game, which amazes me because they're not that good. They're not that good at all. But
yeah, it's impressive.
Everyone probably noticed we did not do a post-game show for the abysmal Citadel game. That was partly due to scheduling conflicts, partially due to apathy towards the result, or because of the result, and partially because of we're slowly now transitioning to basketball. So no post game for Citadel. So we'll give a brief little recap. We obviously lost the game. And if you watch the game, it was not death by 1,000 cuts, because that would be generous to say that there was that much action in the game. It was quite a dull game. It seemed like Citadel was building towards something. And then the crescendo was basically 3 touchdowns in the last 10, 15 minutes. And you were just like, what just happened? Because Samford is up 3-0 at half. You're thinking, oh, it's going to be okay. Quincy's going to start clicking. The offense is going to start clicking. And none of that happened. Grant, Mike, when your running back is tied for leading receptions in the game, that ain't good. That's check down city right there. And that is not going to win you a football game. Turnovers, throwing interceptions. The doomsday scenario we talked about was if we do not operate efficiently, Citadel has the capability to make this a grind the gears, slow the gears down, and just grind the game out. And that's kind of what happened. Yeah. Didn't think it was going to happen, especially after watching the game against Mercer, but it certainly is what happened. And the sad part is, guys, Citadel did nothing special on offense. You look at the stats, and their quarterback was about as bad as we thought he was going to be. The receivers we highlighted were the ones that shone. And their running game was fine. It worked. But you know why they scored those touchdowns? Turnovers and field position. All because of a lack of offense. Grant, please share the stat that is frankly shocking.
Yeah, in fact, even Citadel's punter was named the special teams player of the week in the SoCon. That's how
he's good. He was good.
Samford scored 1 touchdown late, and I sent y'all the Chris Paul meme. He's giving the mean mug when he's down by 40. That's basically what it felt like. Samford's score was 0 time left on the clock. Samford is averaging, they showed this on the broadcast too, which gave me the kind of chance to go back and look. Samford is averaging 9.4 points per game in the second half and 3.4 points per game in the fourth quarter, thanks to that last touchdown. But here's the alarming trend that we discussed. The Samford offense has 1 fourth quarter touchdown this season. The Samford defense has more touchdowns in the fourth quarter than the offense, which is 2, which was the 2 Mercer scoop and score and pick 6 by Noah Morton that we had. So the defense is outscoring the offense in the fourth quarter.
How crazy. Guys, the fourth quarter doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. How crazy is that? One touchdown in garbage time against Citadel is the only fourth quarter touchdown we've scored. That's how you're 3-4, sitting here with a loss to West Georgia and Citadel. That's how you're 3-4. I mean, this team, I do not understand. And that leads us to Wofford. Wofford coming in here, not looking that good. They were outscored, guys, 51-12 the last two games. ETSU and UTC were their opponents, 51-12. Nothing special on offense, average less than 20 points, about 16 points. It's been a carousel at quarterback. The latest guy to trot out there, Bryce Corston, who threw for barely 100 yards and less than 50% completion percentage. I mean, Wofford is not good. However, somehow, some way, they have a top 25 win on their resume, just like this Samford team. And so they're coming in. We're going to say the same thing we did last week. Another opportunity for a win for Samford. If Samford plays like they did last week, we will probably lose. A team that we cannot figure out against a Wofford team that really poses no threat. Offensively, they don't move the ball. Defensively, they do generate some turnovers, but something wild, guys. They've only had 9 sacks all year. You go and you look at their individual defensive statistics, nobody pops out. A couple of DBs have multiple picks, but no one has more than 2 sacks. There's in fact, I don't think anyone has double digits tackles for loss, which is crazy at this point in the season. So it's homecoming. The Bulldogs need a win. The season from a playoff standpoint and conference championship standpoint is over. But you still play to win. And hopefully the guys can find some juice for the homecoming crowd because, oh man, we joked about it. That West Georgia team was always lurking in the back of our mind. What if it appears again? And then it did in Charleston. Let's hope it doesn't repeat and make another appearance in the homecoming game against Wofford. But we'll see. Are y'all feeling a little more optimistic? Are you more solidly convinced we're going to win, or are you just as tepid about a victory as I am?
Just don't know what to expect anymore.
Yeah. Jekyll and Hyde. In fact, it's not actually, that's too extreme. It's not Jekyll and Hyde. They haven't been that bad and they haven't been that good. But Mike?
Going from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows in a span of 7 days. I don't even care at this point.
That's tough.
It was just embarrassing. We had so many opportunities to control that game in the first quarter with the missed field goals and getting them at 3rd and long in their own territory early in the game and all that. So
they couldn't buy a point in the first.
Couldn't buy a point. Their offense is so boring to watch.
Yes, it is.
So bad. It was so bad.
Yes.
Did they throw the ball one time that entire game?
Barely. They threw for about 130 yards, I think.
That's more than I would have thought.
Yeah, he was 11.
Most of those were chunk plays.
Yeah, he was 11 for 18 for 134 yards.
Yeah, a lot of those, I think they had several 30-yard completions because guess what? Our secondary gave up some big plays. I know that's I know it's shocking.
Stealing that Mercer win was the gift that we needed to salvage this season, and the fact that we went into that Citadel game with potentially an opportunity to still take the SoCon title, if things go our way and just to blow it.
Yeah.
Why would we think that they're going to play any better against Wofford when we have nothing on the line?
I don't disagree. You got to think Quincy will bounce back. Didn't throw a touchdown in that game, which is crazy. Didn't throw a touchdown. Multiple picks. You got to think he bounces back. They have to. If they don't, I mean, the wheels are falling off. And at that point, I don't know. So there's got to be something. We talked about it before the season, or at the beginning of the season after that loss to West Georgia. If the season doesn't get back on track, just from a respectability standpoint, because losing to Citadel is an all-time low in the recent few years. Forget last year's wins, losses. We beat Citadel and we beat VMI. You got to beat the bottom, the cellar dwellers, right?
Yeah, in the last 5 matchups, Samford had averaged 45 points against Citadel. They came out with 11 on Saturday.
And you're allowed an egg But you can't lay an egg against Citadel, and you can't lay an egg against West Georgia. And if you lay an egg against Wofford, something's got to change. So yeah, not feeling great about homecoming, but at least it's no one good rolling into town. But with that, guys, we don't want to bury the lead. We're 11-ish, 10 minutes into this. Let's get to basketball. So to kick off basketball, got a little trivia before we dive into it. And it's interesting, Grant, because we're defending champs, and I think you tweeted out that, or somebody tweeted out that no team has gone back-to-back since Wofford in 2015.
Yep.
But there are two schools that have yet to win it at all, much less back-to-back. Which schools do you all have any idea? I'm sure
Before
at least one.
Before last season, it was 3 schools.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
I know 5 that have won it, so that leaves 4, right?
Okay.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
9 or 10 teams.
There's 10 basketball teams, 9 football teams.
Okay.
UNCG is
5.
the 10.
So it's.
So, if you've boiled it down to 5, you only got to get 2. Pick the 2 right ones out of there.
My gut says VMI, but I also think VMI feel like they've been in the conference for a while, so I'm not going to say
they've been
VMI.
in it a long time.
Yeah.
A long time.
I'm going to say Citadel, and
Okay.
I'm going to say, for some reason, I feel like UNCG has never gotten there, although been on the cusp for a while. But I don't know why I think that. So I'm going to say Citadel and UNCG.
Grant?
Yeah, I was going to say Citadel and Western Carolina.
Okay, y'all were spot on with Citadel. UNCG and UNCG for sure, though, has won it since 2015. Pretty sure Western has too, but that may not be right. But it's Mercer and Citadel, the 2 teams who have yet to win the longest
Didn't
running.
Mercer beat Duke in the tournament in like 2015?
That was before. That was
They were in the
before
conference.
they were in the SoCon.
Trick
right.
question.
They Western Carolina won in 1996 was the last time they won the tournament. Dang it.
It's a
Sneaky.
curveball.
Sneaky Sam.
It's a sneaky one because everybody remembers that Mercer Duke one. Everybody remembers that one
Yeah.
and the Lehigh Duke one.
Lehigh, yeah.
Lehigh.
Yeah.
2 epic.
CJ McCollum, yeah, Lehigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that Lehigh team. No one knew about CJ until that day. Oh, guy's so good. Anyway, so Mercer and Citadel hunting for their first championship in the longest running basketball tournament in America. Boys, let's jump into it. This preview is focusing much more on Samford than the rest of the SoCon. We'll touch a little bit about who all is talent-wise returning some good talent, brought in some good talent, what the teams may look like at the end. But for now, we're focusing on the dogs. And Grant, Mike, let's kick it off. Who is returning on this year's defending champion squad?
Well, before we do that, I just want to say that we're turning over a new leaf, losing some guys from last year that we had known for a while, just to touch that real quick.
No,
Jaden Campbell graduated. He's playing in Czech Republic right now. Jermaine Marshall, everyone loves Jermaine. He's unfortunately out of eligibility now. He's playing over in Finland. He's playing basketball right now. Garrett Hicks is over in the country of Georgia right now. He was a guy who came over from Alabama A&M. And then we obviously know the other guys that transferred. The Dallas Graziani went back to Nova Southeastern, so we won't have any high jump balls against any 8'4" centers this year, this time around. Dang. And then Nathan Johnson graduated, and then the other 2 transfers, which everyone knows about, AJ State McCray was going to go to FAU, backed out of that, and is now at Miami. And then obviously we know the story about Achor going in the portal the very last day and going to Kansas State. Exactly. Going to Kansas State after he thought he was going to Auburn, then maybe Oklahoma, then maybe somebody else, and ends up at Kansas State getting high 6-figure deal. So those are the guys that aren't here anymore. Now, who's returning? Shout out one of the oldest players in college basketball, Rylan Jones, was granted a 6-year of eligibility by the NCAA.
Dang. Got the Dylan Gabriel of basketball over here.
Exactly. Rylan is the only returning starter from last year. So you have Rylan coming back. Riley Allensbach is back for another year. Yeah,
one returning starter.
It was almost
a lot of turnover.
was almost none if he didn't get that extra year, which Samford was working on for quite a while. So that's probably why they got that done. Then had the 3 freshmen who came in last year back in Riley Allensbach, Josh Holloway, and Lucas Walls. So there you go. And then Brody Boyer missed all of last season with a knee injury, and he is back this year as well. So those are your returners. So
was he a high school recruiter or transferred?
He was a JUCO guy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brody Boyer. Yeah, I remember that name.
Early in the Bucky days. He's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Has he played ever?
Played sparingly a couple years ago, but not a ton of minutes now.
Okay, interesting. So, I mean, I guess the core returning non-starters are those freshmen that we got last year.
Correct.
Interesting how I guess we can get into who's coming in, and I'm interested to see how the team dynamic works. I mean, you're a young buck. They got a lot of playing time last year.
Yeah.
A little taste of the action. Probably anticipating starting this season, and then in the beast that is college sports now, we bring in all of these upperclassmen from Power 5 schools, and all of a sudden you're looking at possibly not starting. So let's tackle who's new first, and then we'll talk about kind of team dynamics.
All right, this is going to take a while. We've got 9, almost
Settle
10,
in, baby.
10 new guys on this roster. So everybody sit back. I'll roll through them quickly. Then we'll worry about the stats later. Trey Fort transferred in from Mississippi State, 6'4", 200. This is his 5th school in 5 years. He was at JUCO the last few years. It was at Mississippi State last year. Isaiah West comes over from Vanderbilt. Colin Holloway, 6'6" forward, will basically be the new Jermaine Marshall. He comes in from Tulane. And then you got Hamed Larry Olenka, shout out. Larry, 6'9", 215 from Utah Tech coming in. Some memes I'm going to have ready for that one when he starts
he's
going to
be, he seems like he's going to be a fan favorite. We'll see, though.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of just like a Chor was when he first came in. Exactly. Who was that again? And then Julian Brown comes in from Wagner. He's got some NCAA tournament experience last year.
Right.
Jaden Brunell, 6'9", 230 forward from University of Illinois Chicago, will be in that front court back there. Brody Davis, center, 6'10", is transferring in as a preferred walk-on from Bucky's alma mater, Birmingham Southern. So we'll see how he can crack into the rotation. And then we've got the 2 freshmen coming in. Zion Wilburn, 6'5", 190 from California. And then Caleb Harrison, 6'9", 205 from nearby Huntsville, where he played for one of Bucky's former assistants at Mountain Brook. So those are the guys that are new this season.
That is a lot. The 2 high schoolers, we knew that they were fairly highly touted because we had talked about them quite a bit. I remember we had talked about Trey Fort and Holloway. Y'all were really excited about Holloway. We talked about Larry for a moment. Olienka, how do we say his last name?
Yeah, you got it.
Olienka?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not tough. And then who are the others? I'm not sure if we ever touched on the Birmingham Southern kid. Or
yeah, he was.
That was it.
Yeah, Davis was a late ad. He was kind of over the summer, kind of under the radar. And then Jaden Brunell was kind of the other guy who came. Yeah. He was where they pivoted to after the guy who went to Kansas State. See, there you go. Transferred out, and they brought in Brunell. So,
all right. So, who are y'all excited about transfer wise? I know that as they committed, we hit on them throughout last year. But just curious to see if anyone's really piqued your interest now that the team is final.
Go ahead, Mike.
It's so tough to say because we brought in so many talented guards, 2 from the SEC and then the guy from Wagner. So all of these guys seem to be able to shoot the 3 pretty well. All of them shooting in the upper or mid to upper 30 percentile or 30% range and for 3-pointers, which is great to see. And they're all fairly athletic. I mean, Trey Fort from Mississippi State played some pretty big minutes early in last season before getting hurt, and his minutes kind of diminished throughout the season, but he seems like an athletic guy. Isaiah West got decent minutes as a freshman, I think, at Vanderbilt last year. Mm-hmm. Shot 33% from 3, 43% from the field. So I'm really just curious to see how our guards can work together to kind of fill in what we're losing in, Jaden Campbell and others. So in the transfer portal era, it really just depends on how your guys mesh. I mean, we've seen – I know it's football and it's a different sport, but like look at Florida State. They go from undefeated last season to 1-6 this year. They thought they would have a really good team, but their transfers just didn't mesh, and that can always happen in basketball. Bucky's certainly struck out in the past on a couple of transfers, but he's also hit big. So it just depends on how those guards mesh well together, and then who can back up Riley Allenspach down low. We got 2 guys coming in that one from Utah State, one from somewhere in Indiana. Both guys can, step in, but what that depth looks like, those will be the factors that are most important to repeating as champions this year.
So those guys can shoot the 3. How are they defensively? Because that was one awesome thing about AJ. And then Jaden, when he was healthy, we had pretty decent perimeter defense, which always helps avoiding that pesky upset from any of the SoCon teams that just drain from deep.
They're all athletic, and they all fit Bucky ball style, which means they can run the floor, they can play defense, they can full court press, they can shoot the 3.
All right.
So I would say Bucky certainly recruited to his style. He knows what he wanted, and he got what he wanted. I would just say if they can hit the 3 and they can, we already know they're athletic coming from the SEC and other
that's huge
programs.
Because we'll get to some of the other transfers in the conference. A lot of these programs did not bring in Power 5 or Power 4 Group of 5 talent.
Yeah,
a lot of them was D2 and and just worse low majors really. We'll get to that later. Grant, thoughts on the any of the new transfers that really piqued your interest?
Yeah, Trey Fort was kind of the guy Mike touched on. He's going to be kind of that new Jaden Campbell. He's kind of the same size. He's a little bit bigger, but we'll see how he works on the defensive end. Really excited about his game offensively and how it will translate to this system, especially. And then obviously Colin Holloway, who was on the preseason All-SoCon team, 6'6", 220. Yeah. Bucky told us the other day, said he's going to have to take on the Jermaine Marshall mindset, which is that every rebound is mine, every crunch situation, I want this ball in my hands to get to the free throw line and make decisions. So it'll be interesting to see how Holloway can kind of do it all. He's going to be asked to do a lot, especially at his size, being 6'6", and kind of playing that small ball 4 alongside Allenspach. And this is his 3rd school. He started at Georgetown, played a lot of minutes at Tulane, averaged 29 minutes, 12 points, 4.3 boards, shot 50% from the field. So he has played a lot of basketball. And like you mentioned, Sam, Bucky really focused on some guys that have a lot of big-time experience. You go to a guy like Julian Brown, who's with Wagner in the NCAA tournament last year, had 18 points in the first 4 games, which they won, and then had 15 points against North Carolina in that game, and that second round game. So you go to him too, but I'm really excited about Holloway and kind of where he can kind of fill, like I keep saying, that Jermaine role where he kind of decides every rebound is mine, and can he help a guy like Allenspach, who maybe is going to have to step up a year earlier than the staff probably expected, especially with who went to Kansas State. So we'll see kind of how those two kind of mesh together down low at the starting 4 and what we think will be the starting 5.
I know this is going all the way back to high school, but I did do a little reading up on Holloway, and you'll be happy to know, Grant, that in the Port Allen versus Rayville state title game, Rayville was either going for their 2nd straight or 3rd straight. Port Allen won. This was Holloway's team. Port Allen won. Port Allen won on a last-second missed field goal, iced the game, offensive rebound off the free throw from none other Holloway.
That's sick.
So definitely bringing the rebound. Every rebound is mine mindset back in high school, assuming he's carried that through, because he does seem just like a grinder on the court. Fun little story there.
Yeah, at Port Allen, he played for his cousin, Derek Jones, who actually played at Samford. He was on the 99 team long, so that's where kind of that connection where Bucky was able to kind of build that and get him to come to Birmingham after being at Tulane. He finished 2nd on Tulane's team in offensive rating per KenPom, shot 56% from the floor on 2s, so he can attack the rim. Didn't shoot as many 3s, but still he has had 21 games scoring in double figures. He had 24 points against Wichita State, and then also had 18 points against Furman in their double OT game. So he can't shoot the rock. It's just how well in the offensive end he can shoot the 3, but because he can do everything else.
So I asked. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, real quick on him, did we mention that he started his career at Georgetown?
I did briefly, yeah. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. He averaged in his second season there, averaged like 10 points a game, shot percent from three. So that's again another high level conference.
This is his last year of eligibility, correct?
Yeah.
Man, he seems like one of those guys you really wish there was two left.
Yeah, and Bucky told us the other day about him he's gonna have to change his like kind of mindset, kind of be at Samford, like being the main guy that everybody looks to. You can't defer anymore like at Georgetown. Obviously, he deferred with a bunch of other good guys there. Same thing at kind of Tulane, where he was kind of the guy at Tulane, but still, you come to Samford, you kind of put a lot more on your shoulders, kind of be the guy, which we expect, especially filling the role left for Marshall last season. So,
yeah. So let's talk about that. The guy. I mentioned the three freshmen. Riley seems to be like he'll be a starter. But that leaves Lucas and Josh on the outside looking in on the initial five. We know it's buckyball. We know there's really about 7 starters. But with that said, I have an idea of the answer to my question, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts on how do you manage that dynamic of young and hungry, experienced, know the system, have won in the system, and then older guys coming in who are quote unquote better on paper and now they're starting. How do you think Bucky manages that? Because to me, that's going to be what determines, outside of injuries and avoiding those, because we're not that deep. No team really is that deep, and especially in our system. So barring injuries, that seems like the make or break aspect of our season. How do you think Bucky is managing that?
I think he does a good job. Guys don't play a lot of minutes too, so guys don't have to carry the load as much. So he's good at shuffling guys in. He did that at Mountain Brook. Obviously, he basically had 14 guys basically rolled out the first 5, second 5, kind of mixed in with the other guys. So he's done a good job of finding ways to kind of mix those guys in. It will be interesting to see a guy like Lucas kind of. There's not a whole lot of depth on the wing, like you mentioned, but still, how can he kind of crack into more minutes? And it will be interesting to see if Josh Holloway can improve on his three-point shot and kind of being able to run the offense a little bit. He did have a 28% turnover rate last year, so the game was moving a little too fast, and he would obviously go a little bit faster. So I think Bucky does a good job of managing minutes and making sure that everybody can shine when they need to and kind of find a way to get wins.
Mike?
Yeah, I think Lucas Walls has a unique size and athletic ability that kind of gives him a skill set that we don't have a ton of depth with. I think Josh Holloway, we saw his athleticism flash at times last year, but like Grant said, not great at shooting the ball. So let's see if he can improve that this season, because you really got to shoot well if you're going to play buckyball. I also think that he moved too fast. If you think about Ryland Jones and Ryland's pace and vision versus Josh Holloway, total 180 in style. I'm not saying one's better than the other. They're just total 180s.
Yeah.
So, how those two players can fit on the court together and how they can fit with the other players on the court kind of playing the same style of basketball. I would imagine Josh Holloway will be the backup ball handler, if not Isaiah West, but I would project Isaiah West to play more of the 2 spot. I was thinking about this today. I think it's a good concern to have, but one of my biggest concerns is how do we retain this talent at the end of this year? Because we got so many young guys. Obviously, Colin Holloway is a senior, but and I guess Trey Fort's a senior as well.
Yeah, he's a senior.
Isaiah West has a couple years left.
Brown has another year too.
Holloway and Walls, yeah, exactly. So. Good problem to have, but assuming these guys mesh well and all end up playing as good as we think they can, how do we retain that talent heading into next season?
Yeah, no, not to get too far ahead because this is a preview. That is an excellent question, Mike. And it starts with how do we retain Bucky? So, assuming it is a good season, that'll be the first challenge. I think y'all are hitting the nail on the head in that when I was thinking about this issue, because it's an issue everywhere, but I think a system like Bucky's is uniquely set up to handle it well because there isn't a quote unquote true starting 5 throughout the season because so many guys get in and so many guys play meaningful minutes. So I think it's just certainly possible that everybody stays fed, quote unquote. But to your point, Mike, it is interesting. Holloway's going to continue to have to evolve his game. He obviously everybody needs to develop, but his game specifically will need to evolve to fit the system because it was literally Quez 2.0 when he first started playing, and it slowly got more meshed into what Bucky wants that we saw. And as long as that continues to happen, he should find plenty of success within the system to probably at some point over the course of he's so athletic. So if a kid like that continues to develop, it wouldn't be shocking if he's starting by the halfway point of the season. Because yes, you start the experienced guys. They're the ones you're going to trust the most. But these young guys all have potential. That's the thing about the old guys. We know what their ceiling is. We've all seen it, right? They're not going to shock you. But Lucas Walls, Riley still has so much room to grow. And then Josh, because I know that was one thing we talked about last year, how excited we were to see those three carry the team into the future. And then we get a slate of new dudes who are going to be the primary contributors at first. And that puts a little damper on that excitement. But I think as the season progresses, that excitement is going to build again because Bucky has an eye for talent, and he picks these freshmen for a reason, not only because that's the ones we could get. Let's be honest, it is Samford. But also he thinks that they could be really good. So it's going to be fun. That's what I'm excited to watch this season is Bucky managing those expectations and then watching these kids flourish, hopefully being the true core of the team moving forward.
Yeah, and you go to last year, Ryland averaged 26 minutes. No one else averaged more than 22. So he does do a good job, especially in the guards. Garrett Hicks, 18 minutes. Josh Holloway, 12 minutes. Dallas played 18 minutes last year. So he does do a good job of kind of shifting those minutes. And like Mike said, if Josh did improve kind of playing off ball with this 3-point shot, it will be interesting to see how many minutes we could see of him and Ryland kind of out there together, because it's basically a liability. If he can't knock down the outside shot playing off the ball when Ryland's doing his thing, he's got to be able to knock down the outside shot. And he has been working on that a lot this summer, so it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, especially if we get to that point where he does have the potential to start alongside Ryland.
Yeah, the three would have to come along. His defense would also have to pick up. It's one thing playing D on the point. It's a whole nother playing on the off-ball guard. So hopefully it's gotten better.
Yeah, I think back to your point about kind of sharing the love and how everybody gets to play, like that can be good for some guys. But from what we heard, one of the main reasons that Dallas Graziani transferred was because he wanted more playing time. Like last year, basketball, he wants to be a starting player and play 30 minutes a game.
Little man, big.
To be honest, I don't know that he would start in this new offense given the talent that we've got.
No.
But that could have been another. But yeah, I think he transferred before we knew all that. I don't know.
Yeah, he was the first one to kind of leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he transferred before we knew what we were bringing in. But I'm just wondering about Holloway. Like he's got so much talent and athleticism that any coach that watches him play, even in his limited minutes, is going to recognize that. And I'm sure trying to sell him on. This is what I can offer you.
For sure.
I can offer you 30 minutes a game. I can offer you the starting point guard position. Like we can run this offense through you and stuff like that. So I think that's my biggest concern about him is we don't want to be that school that brings kids in to develop them for 2 years when they're still raw and fresh, and then hand them off to bigger programs to let them thrive at higher levels. But
we may not want to be that school, but I think we need to be comfortable being that school. I think Josh is going to follow Bucky. If Bucky stays, Josh stays. The money will never be as good as it is elsewhere. That's just a fact in SoCon and mid-major basketball. You can always get more money. In corporate America, you can always get more money. But if Bucky leaves, Josh probably just follows him. I think that they are married to Bucky obviously more than Samford. Basketball is a coach-driven sport, unless you're going to maybe UNC.
But who on this team's not married to Bucky?
No, that's everybody is. Everybody. Yeah, no, that's my point. Dude, no one's picking Samford. They're picking Bucky. And we got to be real about that, because that's for the most part, you look at any of these SoCon schools, unless you're a local kid in Chattanooga or Birmingham and you like somehow grew up a fan of these programs, you're going there because you believe in that coach and you think that coach in the SoCon can get you to the SEC or to the NBA or to Europe. Because it's never just the goal to stop here at Samford. For some kids, they want the free ride for education. That's great. But yeah, everybody's married to the coach.
Yeah, and with Josh specifically, like coming in, okay, Ryland's got one more year before knowing he had this extra year potential. Like, I'm going to be the guy. Kind of have to shift that mindset. Who knows when he was told that they're actually working on this? You probably don't tell him until you actually know that he's coming back. So it is a little bit of kind of that factor, like thinking this year is going to be his year, but it's going to be another year to develop and the kind of, as we said, crack into that rotation with all these guards we have.
And frankly, for a guy like that, what's the rush, right? I mean, in this era of basketball, if his goal is the NBA, that's a high bar from what we've seen. But if his goal is the NBA, then he's going to take all 4 years of college to develop. Bucky can develop him just as well as any place else for 2 or 3 years. And then that last year, if he really wants to go test the waters, go SEC, go Big Ten, ACC, it's the opportunity will be there. And that's why, Mike, we got to be comfortable with that because we need a coach like Bucky to believe that he can sell kids on being a transition school because there's no mid-major that's a destination program. That's just the reality. You want to be the best program that can develop the best talent. And if that end result is them leaving to go to the SEC their senior year, so be it. Hopefully you've eked out an NCAA tournament win or two. But it's all you can ask.
Definitely not saying that we need to adjust, our roster management to keep kids happy necessarily. I'm just thinking, given the people that we brought in this year, I could foresee at the end of the season that being an issue. If I was a kid in that kind of situation, or maybe I'm not getting the playing time that I thought I would as a sophomore, but I feel like my talent's there, I want to go ahead and transfer somebody somewhere where I can have a full offseason and a full year to develop to where I have that senior year to be the starting guy rather than transferring in my senior year and hoping that I mesh well.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And I totally just blew the proportion and scope out of that point, Mike. But anyway, Grant, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to touch, we've talked a lot about the guards, and rightfully so, but kind of the bigs will be interesting to kind of see how that rotation kind of forms. We assume Riley's going to start, but it's how well he kind of plays defensively. He kind of got, obviously a freshman, you're going to get pushed around a little bit, especially like defensive rebounding, kind of struggle with that way. We know he can shoot it a lot. With obviously making those 4 threes against Kansas, even Bill Self was like, they had a guy who made 3 threes all year, went 4 for 4. What is buckyball? What is this? But on the defensive end, it will be interesting to see where he, at 6'11", 247, you kind of got to have him. Jaden Burnell transferring in. He's another pick and pop guy too, kind of the same mold as Allensbach, 6'9", 230. And then you got Oleanka on the other side, also 6'9", 215. He's a really good rim protector. Last year he had, I have it right here. He had a 51 total blocks and averaging just 16 minutes per game, averaged 1.6 blocks per game. So he's another rim protector. So he's not as big as still defensively, but he is an elite rim protector. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of cracks in the rotation, and we'll see where the offensive game kind of forms. Samford can kind of just say, okay, this is what we did for a chore. We can do this for you with kind of his development and kind of making sure that he can kind of crack minutes without obviously all the fouling that a chore did in his freshman year. So it will be interesting to see how that big rotation kind of forms together throughout the season.
Okay, obviously the biggest risk roster-wise is the big man position, either 4 or 5. That is always the risk for a mid-major program because there's just no depth. Do you think that, Mike, we'll start with you. Do you think this year we're a little bit better off or a little bit worse off than last season, assuming that we get similar production, not a chore level potential player of the year production, but like from the unit standpoint, consistent points, consistent rebounds, consistent blocks, consistent play? Because to me, it seems like we might be a little bit deeper because we had to play Love Day quite a bit when it came down to it. We had to play him a lot more than we probably thought. So curious to see what y'all think. Michael, start with you.
I think defensively and with rebounding, we're probably in a better position, assuming that Allenspot develops like we hope he can, because he was not great at rebounding last year for his size and his frame and build. I think the biggest question will be offensively, because we're losing close to 20 points a game from a Chor,
which is a lot.
Which is a lot. And he could kind of bail us out. If we weren't shooting well from behind the arc or whatever, he could kind of bail us out. I don't think Allenspot kind of lacked a little bit of touch around the rim. He developed that more later in the season, but
there were so many opportunities
where he wide open layups that he just missed, putbacks that he was just missed. But he was a true freshman. You expect him to improve on those things. So if he can learn to rebound and finish at the rim like he should be able to, given his size and build, and these other guys can kind of build on top of that, I think we'll be okay. But offensively is where I'm concerned, because we're not going to replace 20 points a game down low.
Yeah. I think, Mike, from an offensive standpoint, Holloway will help make up for what Jermaine wasn't producing on offense. So I know that is our front court. That offensively should probably be produce a little bit more. But that's a good point, Mike. And I have faith. In Riley, we trust. I think the season comes down to, like I said, how Bucky manages the roster, but also the big man play. And what Riley showed us in our biggest game in school history, that kid can ball when it matters. Grant.
Yeah, you do offensively. Last year, in the preseason, we talked about Samford didn't really have like a shot clock guy. Like there's 4 seconds on the shot clock. We need somebody to make a play and kind of make a play and get it happen. Make something happen with little time. And Troy kind of developed into that guy. We all remember the Western Carolina game where he basically made like every three. He went like 6 for 9 from 3 in Western. We'll let you shoot it. He's like, fine, I'll just make every three you put out. How you put out, let me have. So offensive will be interesting. I don't know how much Olienko will bring offensively. Again, he is a little bit raw when it comes to that end, but he can attack the rim. He just don't know how much he'll actually shoot from the outside, which is where Brunel comes in at 6'9", 230, averaged first shot 36% from 3 last year. So it will be interesting to see. He's also an underrated rim protector, averaged 2.3 blocks per 40 minutes. So it will be interesting on offense, like Mike said, who can kind of be that guy when the clock's going down. And maybe that is Rylan Jones, who kind of takes another step. As Bucky told us the other day, he's going to have to maybe look for a shot a little bit more offensively than he did in the past, kind of maybe be that guy depending on what other guy steps up from the new guys coming in. So offensively, how does the big man become that guy to kind of, okay, we need a bucket here soon. Crunch time. Can we go to Allenspot or Brunel in the post and find a way to get it easy too?
Yeah, it'll be. I'm excited to watch the new bigs because it does seem if you could marry Olienko and Brunel, you'd have a heck of a player. Yeah. But hey, if we got 2 guys who are both really good at different things, that'll play in the SoCon. That will definitely play. Guys, any other points you want to make on the roster before we start talking about the schedule?
Some other top line numbers. Here's where Samford. I have this in the preview, which the first part is out now.
Great
but here's
preview,
just
Grant, by the way. If you haven't read it, y'all need to go check it out. Subscribe to the Samford Scoop, but definitely read Grant's preview. It's a nice primer. Excited for part 2, Grant.
Part 2 coming out Thursday. Go over the reserves and then a little bit of the schedule. But here's just where Samford, how great last year's team was. Samford was 6th in the country in average possession length. That's how fast, obviously, Samford played. They finished 4th in the country in 3-point percentage. And then on the defensive end, Samford was 1st in the SoCon in turnover percentage and 15th ranked nationally. Samford was also 5th in the country in scoring offense, averaging 86 points a game, 6th in bench points, 8th in effective field goal percentage, and then 7th in fast break points. So that's just alluded to how great last year's team was when it came to
those are stupid numbers, Grant.
When it came to scoring the basketball and that big jump they took from 2 years ago to last year. So you think there'll be some regression. It's just a matter of how well this roster, like we keep saying, mixes in with some of the new guys, and Rylan kind of leading this group and being the guy that everybody looks up to.
There may be some regression. On the flip side, it could be one of those things where if Bucky is as good as we think he is, you're literally building momentum. So, you start with whatever transfers you can get your first couple of years. You start with the D2 guys, the lower level mid-major guys, the guys who never even saw the court, Power 5 guys. And then this year, you're building, and then this year, you get a little bit better. Boom, last year happens, and then this year you bring in, on paper, 2 great high school recruits from Samford's perspective, and several high-level Power 4 contributors, not just 2 points a game, right?
Yeah.
And you think that elevates the floor of your team. Obviously, last year's team played to probably its potential, which is fantastic. If this is, I was going to make a little dig on the football team, but they definitely played to their potential. I'll refrain. But their floor was lower than this year. There's no Graziani on this team. For how much we loved him, he was a liability basically every time we weren't pressing the ball.
The size, yeah.
There's not a Graziani. There's not a Loveday that we know of yet. At the time, we were excited about getting a 7-footer from Baylor. There's not just those inherent guys we just had to have for numbers, and they serve a small little role. It seems like the guys we got can do a lot of different things. And so it just seems like the floor is a little bit is rising as each year goes by.
The floor is in our youth. I'll say that, not in our talent.
Fair.
Last year, the floor was in our talent.
I like that perspective.
This year, the floor is in our youth because we've lost 4 starters who had been around Buckyball for 3 years, 4 years, 2, 3 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
So it's just, I think the youth in their academic eligibility and their youth in the system.
Or here's your 3 years. Yeah, no, that's a good way to think of it, Mike. The floor is in the youth for sure.
But athleticism and talent should be a lot better.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, any other points?
One more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Grant.
Can Samford avoid the big injury, and how did they react? Remember last year, Jermaine breaking his hand and also having another issue which he battled through. AJ had his struggles later in the year. So the way this team practices, how hard they practice every single day, and the way they obviously play every game, it's just a matter of, will they have a quote unquote big injury, and how did they respond like they did last year, and other guys stepping up and kind of those big moments, which is where we see so many guards. If one guard goes down, there's always somebody else there to kind of take that spot. So how do they react when and if a big injury kind of comes?
There will be
where's
injuries.
the Chandler Leopard, the guy that's going to come in and win us one game but not really play the rest of the season? Where's the Chandler Leopard this season?
We've got a few potential ones on the roster. But yeah, that is the ultimate question, because there will inevitably be injuries. You hope it's not to some of the key cogs in the machine, but you never know. All right, boys, let's break down the schedule a little bit, and we'll end with kind of an overview of the SoCon. Plenty of good SoCon previews out there to read if you all are so inclined. So, non-conference, we are starting off Monday, November 4th against Mississippi College at home. Should be a dub. We then travel on the road that week, Friday, to Cornell. Should be a dub. I don't know how good Cornell is, but it'll be a good game. It should be a very competitive game, much more competitive than Mississippi College. Then we come back home against a non-Division I team, Rhodes College. I did not know you were allowed to play Division III teams, but apparently you are. Kudos to Rhodes for coming up to Birmingham for that match, or coming down to Birmingham for that game. And then Friday, going to North Alabama.
The Alliance.
Not a football game, because we would get wrecked.
It's the ASUN Alliance that you love so much.
Oh, they're ASUN in basketball.
Yeah, it's the first. Yeah.
Aren't they UAC in football?
That sounds right, yeah.
Okay. All right, yes, the ASUN Alliance, that
scheduling alliance that you love. Yeah.
Hurts the brand. So we got we're going to Florence, Alabama to play North Alabama. I don't know how they got us to go there. Whatever. Then our glorious Texas Southern guys. Remember that Texas Southern game last year? Was it last year where the commentator was going rogue?
He's cussing on the broadcast
It was
before
so
it started.
good.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what the hell are we going on? And like a couple minutes later, are we live?
Oh, we're live.
Said yes, dude, we are live.
We're live. So all those games we got.
Wait, are we going back there?
No, they're coming to us.
Oh, I was like, how did
Mississippi
they?
College, Cornell, Rhodes, North Alabama, Texas Southern. Hopefully 4-1, 5-0. Not any worse than that. The game to Cornell coin flip, we could lose that one. But 4-1, 5-0 before traveling to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. Grant, is Michigan State good this year?
They're Michigan State. They're
always
solid.
good, but are they Michigan State good?
They always start the season in the top 5, and then they quickly fall out of the top 25, and they make a push, and somehow they get to March, and they make a run.
I don't understand. I love them. I don't understand.
Yeah. As long as Samford doesn't have to play them in March, I think we're good. Because it was last year Michigan State played James Madison, who's kind of the other mid-major darling, and James Madison went in there and beat them. So it is possible. I forgot where they rank in the Big Ten preseason, but they're the 35th team in KenPom per his ranking. So
okay. So a very challenging matchup right there in the first 6 games. 4 cupcakes, 1 good game. Well, I'm not going to call Texas Southern a cupcake. They're a legitimate program. They're not that good. 3 cupcakes, 1 toss-up, 1 should-be win, and then Michigan State. Then we have a little on-campus tournament, boys. We got North Dakota State, Utah Valley, and West Georgia coming in. My gosh, basketball team, get some revenge. Get some revenge, please. My goodness. It should be 3 wins, if we're being honest. Should be 3 wins. That's the expectation in that tournament.
yeah,
I do like early season basketball because the team that you start with is never the team that you finish. We could come out of the gates ice cold. I mean, we lost to a D2 team last year. So
2 years ago, yeah. Tennessee Southern. This is the Samford MTE we're hosting. We're not playing on Saturday this year. Apparently, there's some big football game in the state of Alabama the last Saturday of the year. I forgot what it is, but there's some big game so Samford's not playing that day.
There's at least 1 football team in that game. There's another squad, but yes.
Sam, actually, I'm not sure which team you're referring to.
That's true. That's true. And this year, Mike, for the first time since 2007, we can
make that argument for both teams.
And I love that. I love that. Nick Saban did, in fact, matter. They did matter. He did matter. All right, so we got the 3-team tournament there. Then traveling to Orangeburg, South Carolina to play a very storied University of South Carolina State. Then we got Austin P at home before the game we're all the most excited for, going to a blue blood in Arizona.
Oof.
Not a blue blood.
Not a blue blood? Okay, not a blue blood. A West Coast blue blood.
Yeah.
There you go.
A 2010s blue blood, maybe.
Yeah.
They have history before that. But going to Tucson, Arizona to take on the Wildcats. Always a regular season darling. Never a tournament contender.
And I still find myself picking them to win it all in my bracket every year.
Every year.
Every single 2 years ago, they lost to Buffalo like the first game. So, oh my gosh, and then lost Sweet 16 last year. But yeah, this is their first year in the Big 12. They're KenPom's number 8 team coming into the season. So, fun times.
So good. So they're good.
And
so that'll be a great litmus test for us.
Number 10 in the original AP Top 25. So, fun times.
Yeah. So hopefully we've recovered because 3 days later we have Alabama A&M. But let's hear it, boys. That's our non-conference slate ending December 21st before Christmas break.
Well, I mean, we should be a 3-loss team at worst.
Well, we won't be, but yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We should be. Arizona, Michigan State. What would you peg our other likely loss to? I mean, maybe
to the fact that it's basketball and you never know.
I think Cornell is kind of really the only other kind of toss-up game. They're picked in like 3rd or 4th in the Ivy, but still
The Ivy's
You're
not
traveling
bad.
up there to see them, so
It's not a bad conference. Yeah, and it's on the road. Ithaca. I'm sure it's a beautiful place, but it is not close to Birmingham.
yeah. I
Is
think
that
that's the only other one you have to worry about.
I'm trying to look. The other big, I mean, obviously we're going to Arizona and Michigan, but all the other games are fairly regional except Texas Southern. But they're coming to us. It's a manageable non-conference slate, boys. It's a manageable one with some two very fun games that they're going to be more competitive than the Purdue game. I mean, neither one of these teams has a Zach Edey.
Actually, Arizona's got Tobe Awaka from Tennessee.
Unbelievable. Are you serious? Is he like 7'2"?
No, but he plays like he's 7'2".
Okay, well, there's a huge difference between the guy
He's
who
from New
actually
York.
plays.
He's from New York.
I think they do have
New
a
York,
big guy.
New
Hold
York.
on. Oh dear. They have a guy from Lithuania, 7'2", 260. They have a guy from Estonia, 7 feet, 235. A guy from Nigeria, 7 feet, 230.
Dude,
6'10",
Greenback loved
245.
Who is this? What team were we talking about, Grant? Arizona?
Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
Arizona does have Awaka 6'8", 250. They do have
waxed.
Yeah,
one Arizona walk-ons. Yeah, one Arizona walk-ons is Luke Champion, who started his collegiate career at Samford, which is kind of interesting. But
that is interesting.
So yeah, they do have some
okay,
big dudes.
That's an auto L. But Michigan State, let's hope it can be a little more competitive. Ken Palm starting out at 36, 35 seems okay. So there's a little glimmer of hope. Arizona, zero glimmer of hope with those kinds of bodies out there. My goodness.
Make every three possible.
Share some love, Arizona. Yeah. Share some love. All right, so that's our non-conference slate. Overall, as we said, manageable. Would be sick if we upset Michigan State, but
it's one of the better non-conference slates we've had in terms of having several fun games and not too many just like boring Tennessee.
I still don't love the D3 game. Like, what is the point of playing roads?
Yeah.
Everybody needs
guys
a buy
like
game. So
you and me out there, it's gonna be bad.
They did. Who was it last year where they put up 140 or whatever it was? I thought that was VMI, but put up 130, 134. That was VMI. They put up. It was LaGrange. They beat LaGrange 128 to 82. So expect something like that.
That is also a D3 program, or at least football wise.
Chandler Leopard had 21 points in that game. That's the game Mike was talking about.
No. There was a game that Chandler Leopard came in and he won the game. It was like an actual game.
We'll find it.
He had 12 against Chat and 12 against VMI. So
Chat, I think it was Chat.
Yeah, Chat. Yeah, that's right. Chat 4 or 5 from 3. Yeah, played. That was their first home conference game. Played 10 minutes, scored 12 points, 4 or 5 from 3. Sick.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. He kept us in the game when everyone else was cold. Yes. Yeah. All right. So the conference slate. So last year, if I remember correctly, it seemed like there was it was 2 seasons ago where there was a really tough stretch. Last year was a little more balanced. This year's schedule also seems fairly balanced. There isn't just a week or two where it's hold your breath, might drop a couple regular season title hopes out the door. So we start with Citadel at home. Unfortunate to start with them because they are not going to be good. But a nice little warm-up before having to travel to Cullowhee. And we'll talk about it, but Western also seems like it's going to be a down season. You never know. But on paper for now, that's the expectation. And then you go to VMI. So you're looking at a hopeful 3-0 starting conference play before UNCG, who also is having it down here. Grant, am I flipping those two?
No, Western. You're right. Western Carolina's got a first head coach, Tim Kraft. Justin Gray went to Coastal, and then UNCG they lost some key pieces from last year. Donovan Atwell returns, but UNCG should be near the middle of the pack.
Okay, so I guess just my brain is saying this is weird. So we have UNCG then at home, a manageable game, but they have talent. We've talked about Atwell; he can really shoot the three well, and if he becomes the guy, which it sounds like he's going to be, They may be dangerous. Definitely a losable game. And then we go to Mercer, who also had a ton of turnover with the new coach.
Beat us last year.
Before probably the biggest game between this point in Arizona is ETSU coming into Homewood Saturday, 5:00, CBS game, baby. ETSU Buccaneers taking on the Bulldogs. Circle that day, January 18th. Going to be exciting, especially if ETSU is as good as we think they could be, and they are battling for the conference title by that point. Going to be an awesome, awesome matchup. And then no rest for the weary boys. Take on ETSU, then traveling to Chat for a Thursday night game on ESPN2. Definitely going to that one. Taking on the Mocs. Hopefully we repeat the embarrassment that was last season.
That was awesome.
Then we have Wofford at home. I'm calling Wofford a paper tiger this year. We'll see. I always think that, though. I'm so biased. Then we go to Furman, to Citadel, and then Mercer at home. So kind of a 2-game reprieve there after doing Wofford, Furman. You got Citadel, Mercer. Then we go back on the road to ETSU, another Saturday game, probably going to be in the evening if I were in charge of scheduling on the ETSU side. Then Chattanooga at home, Wofford on the road, Furman at home, Western at home, VMI on the road, and then ending on the road against UNCG on ESPN2. So, like I said, it seems like a manageable schedule. Hardest stretch on paper is that January 18th home game against ETSU, then traveling to Chattanooga just a few days later. But outside of that, there seems to be enough manageable games sprinkled in between the tough ones. It could be a nice season, but guys, just hearing that, what are some of the games you all have circled other than January 18th?
It's kind of those 8 games. It's weird. I don't remember if this was last year the same thing. You have a stretch of ETSU, Chattanooga, Wofford, Furman, and then a month later you have that same exact stretch. You have ETSU, Chat, Wofford, Furman. Yeah. So I've never seen it. I kind of turned out that way, but it's those 8 games that we think where Samford's kind of fight for the top of this conference with those teams. So it's those 8 games how Samford kind of finds their way, and what kind of record they have in those games could determine how and if they repeat.
Yeah, ETSU obviously going to be a rival this year after the way that the season ended last year and the hype that they're getting heading into this season. They've got some talent coming back, and they've got that coach coming back that everybody seems to love so much. Chattanooga got incredible guards coming back, and they've reloaded with talent as well. So they're probably going to be, in my mind, the favorite to win the SoCon once we get into that. Just spoiler alert. And I'm really
kind of marry these two conversations if you want to share that.
Well, I think the Honor Huff and Trey Bonham coming back, and then the other guys they've got coming in.
It's nice.
So, it's nice, but in terms of that team from Travelers Rest, I'm thinking we go 2-0 this year. What do y'all think?
I would love nothing more.
I think we sweep them. I think we sweep Mercer.
Yeah.
VMI, Citadel, UNCG, and Western. I think it's all coming down to ETSU, Chattanooga, Wofford as the ones where hard to say.
Furman's Arena is getting renovated, so they're playing in like the main one in Greenville, so that's like another factor. You don't have to go into that kind of atmosphere this year.
That janky high school.
Travel 10 miles down the road for
no, they're not
basketball game.
Although Furman's new arena is going to be sick, because the current one they have is so bad. They do have that little beer garden though, which is cool. But otherwise, it's such a janky atmosphere. But once the renovation's done, it should be probably the coolest one in the conference. What other thoughts, Mike?
No, that was pretty much it. I think kind of like all SoCon sports tend to be, we've got kind of a top half and a bottom half. And this year, the top half is going to be Wofford, ETSU, Samford, and Chat. Furman will be right there in the middle, and then the other teams at the bottom. Furman, really interested to see how PJ Smith kind of takes the lead as the guard this year with the players that they lost to the transfer portal and graduation. Ben Vanderwall coming back, and Garrett Heen coming back. They're two kind of big men who we despise.
God, we do not like them at all. Oh, my goodness.
But I don't think that those three veterans are enough for them to be in contention this year. We'll see how their transfers play out.
Well, yeah, they're energy guys. I mean, Heen is somewhat of a contributor, but no. Not stars.
Yeah, one guy to watch for Chattanooga, Frank Champion was a great D2 player, 6'7", 220. So he'll kind of be a guy where with Chattanooga, obviously Trey and Huff kind of lead the group, but they kind of need a third scorer. I think Champion can kind of be that guy for him. It's just a matter of how well they play on the defensive end. Guys, it's like that game, Sam, you mentioned Samford straight up bullied them in Chattanooga. So that's another guy I kind of want to keep an eye on.
It was criminal, Grant. It was criminal.
Sam, what do we think about Parker Robinson, the freshman for Chattanooga out of Macaulay School?
Well, he's obviously going to win Player of the Year in the conference. I mean,
Does Macaulay play basketball?
I guess they do. When I was there, we were terrible.
He played track and
still got cut from the team.
I never got cut. Mike, I was smart enough not to get cut by not trying out.
There you go.
Good job, Gravity. Yeah.
I was playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers. No, I was hoping there'd be another Macaulay kid in the league after our Mercer guy transferred. I don't know where he went, but they'll be fun to watch. I'll pay attention to Parker. He's a freshman. He said,
yeah, freshman. Freshman guard.
Okay.
Grant, do you know where Miles Chi ended up going? He was a pretty decent freshman guard last year out of California. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he went back home. He's actually at California Irvine.
So amazing. He was also so scrappy and annoying to watch because he was scrappy.
Yeah, made 16 starts for Chat last year.
Yeah. That he was the only reason. In fact, he was the only reason that game in Chattanooga wasn't a 50-point game. He was single-handedly keeping them relevant. All right, guys. So let's kind of transfer over to kind of the conference in general, to give a little context to the schedule we just went over. Grant, if you want to run through kind of high level impact transfers and then who saw the most attrition.
Yeah, starting with most attrition, kind of the two schools, obviously, in this day and age. You lose coaches, you're going to lose a lot of players. Mercer fired their coach. They brought in Ryan Ritter from UT Martin. And then Western Carolina, obviously, they had all those guys last year. Pelote did stay for another year, but Justin Gray went to Coastal Carolina. I want to say took a couple of guys with him. But a couple new guys coming in. I already mentioned Frank Champion from Chat, 6'7", 220, put up a lot of numbers in the D2 ranks. Another one is John Buggs for transferred ETSU, kind of a guy who had other kind of higher mid-major offers, and for some reason, Savage was able to convince him to come to ETSU. He's a guard, 6 feet, 189 transferred from North Texas, and then ETSU did bring in Roosevelt Weaver, another guy from VCU, so he's played some ball. So those are kind of the guys.
Right, Roosevelt Weaver.
That is a big name. Yes, he's 6'11", 230 from VCU. So those are kind of the guys that kind of, especially with the top half of the conference, kind of guys we need to watch out for.
Oof, that could be tough.
Yeah, I'm excited to obviously watch those two ETSU games, kind of the big we talked about before we got on, basically football games, basically no blood, no foul, kind of try to battle your way through those. So those would be the two games I want to watch, obviously.
I did not know that they brought in a guy like that, Roosevelt Wheeler, 237. Yeah. And then I also see they brought in this kid. You see Davian Bradford too? 7 foot, 265 from Wake Forest.
Yeah, I did not mention him. Yeah, he's another guy. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
ETSU's got some trees. I don't know. Did he? We got to find that out. That's not good. Like if we're talking about one of our not weak points, but weaker points is the big man. a team like ETSU who brought it down to the wire last year in the SoCon championship, and then I cannot remember. Did we escape with a win in Johnson City last season? Or
We did. That was
it
that was
like
the game where Nathan Johnson was the big guy now, and he made 5 threes. He banked in kind of 3 from the wing where Samford had to hold on to that lead. He was kind of a Chandler Leopard of that game to help Samford get a win.
Yeah, it seems like if there is a magic elixir or the kryptonite of buckyball, it is big man bully ball. And that is what ETSU plays. And that is what they're loading up with. I mean, my goodness, guys. We're going to get straight bodied unless this team is much more physical than I think they are. Like I said, we haven't even played a game. But I'm not anticipating the Samford squad to out-muscle anybody out there. That is going to be a tough matchup. But then again, we said the same thing about UNCG. And we said the same thing about Western, and we prevailed. So at the end of the day, unless ETSU found a few more scores, especially from the guard position, their offense is just not going to be efficient enough to beat us. But we'll see.
Yeah, offensively is where they struggled last year until the conference tournament where they made literally everything. So it's just a matter of can they take that other step with the team.
Yeah, hopefully that glass slipper's broken.
Yeah, FanDuel's top 5, and they're Samford plus 230, Wofford plus 300, Chat plus 430, Furman plus 650, and then ETSU plus 700, where they kind of have the odds for the top of the conference.
Mike, what was the bet you put last year? Was it Western?
Yeah.
See, that's the value bet this year is ETSU. The value
plus 700,
ETSU.
Whoa. ETSU's plus 700?
Yeah, Furman, they're 5th in the odds. Furman's plus 650, ETSU's plus 700, UNCG is plus 1,000, but ETSU is plus 700.
Yeah, I'd put 100 on
plus what? Plus 450?
430, yeah.
And what are we?
Samford plus 230, Wofford plus 300, Chat plus 430, Furman plus 650, and ETSU plus 700.
Let's talk about Wofford for a minute. Wofford.
And then VMI plus 2,000 if you're interested.
Ooh, easy money.
Yeah, down the drain. Why are they so hyped up this season? Can someone explain this to me? Like, Corey Tripp is a good player. We know that.
Plus 20,000. Sorry, plus 20,000. I can't do math.
But why? I mean, what am I missing here?
I don't
Did
think
they bring in some freaks?
They basically just bring everybody back from the starting 5. That's kind of where kind of favored them that way. I just don't know. Again, I've talked about this before, but if it's cynical of me to think that they have so many guys back, did anybody really want your players? But if I was in their case,
I think that's a wonderful rationale, Grant.
Yeah, I don't. I kind of struggled with that. Yeah,
because look at it. An AJ, like an AJ doesn't come back.
Kyler Filowich on your team.
Michael, thank you. That guy is not that good at basketball. He's huge in terms of width.
Yeah,
it's not like this kid is freaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar out there. He is by no means a impenetrable big man who's going to score every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, Samford lost 2 guys. AJ offers like low 6 figures, Sator's high 6 figures, but then Wofford doesn't have anybody get poached. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a red flag.
Or you think, but
it's a red flag. This team is the most overrated.
We did lose to them once last year, didn't we?
Yes.
And we almost lost the first game. I think that was the game of Chor had like a last second.
Both games last year were very frustrating watches.
In the game at Wofford, we had like 3 guys out. Like Jaden Campbell that morning had like appendicitis or something crazy where he was out that morning. But
they're pesky. They're pesky. But when we're in talking season and when we're, right now until the first tip actually happens, I'm selling Wofford. Selling them hard. Because
you're always selling Wofford.
Of course I am.
Yeah, if they were
that 10 minutes ago.
If they were Western Carolina,
Michael
deal,
Jordan on their team, and you'd be selling.
No. If they had Michael Jordan, I'd pick him second. But still, I also think that we have to be underestimating one of the teams in the bottom. I mean, I know Western and Mercer, UNCG had a lot of turnover. Mercer especially, UNCG especially. But what if they hit on like one or two dudes? Because that is the thing. To be competitive in this conference, if you got one stud, he can carry you. I think Samford is certainly a contender. I think UTC is certainly a contender. And I think ETSU is a contender. I think there's going to be one dark horse that's not Wofford, that's not Furman, that's not VMI or Citadel. It's going to be Western or UNCG. Probably not going to be Mercer. It could be. But one of those three is going to surprise us. Other than that, it's going to be pretty chalky. The bottom's the bottom, the top is the top. Sans Wofford.
Ceiling is the roof. Yeah.
The ceiling is the roof.
Mike Jones at UNCG, been around a while. Great coach. Always
great coach.
The team. So
they got to be better than we think.
Yeah.
They got to.
Yeah.
But maybe they're not. Maybe for the first time in history, the media, I don't know what media covers the Southern Conference, but the media that covers the Southern Conference missed.
Yeah, at what point do we get a media vote?
I don't want a media vote, Mike. We like being the outsiders.
I voted for tournament teams when I was down there up there in Asheville, but
Grant, we don't disclose that. We are outsiders. We are not part of the establishment. We're Buccaneers, baby.
I'm pretty sure Blake got a vote, but
it's
whatever.
ETSU Bucks, so we can't be Buccaneers.
Oh man, yeah.
Does VMI win more than one conference game? They beat Citadel by one last year.
Yes, they do. They
did add some transfers.
They did. They actually replenished a roster, which is shocking. Yeah. We'll see. They didn't add any college transfers. All high schoolers. Oh, one.
Wait, how is that?
Indiana State. Augustinus Kaidulos.
Hey, they won the NIT
That's a tough
last
name.
year, didn't they?
Lithuania. 6'8", 215 sophomore.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Hey, that's some size. That's some size at least. But it looks like
they do have a kid from Lipscomb, 6'6", too.
Military drills at 6'8" must be tough.
Oh yeah, he's not a high schooler either. You're right.
It's tough. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I misread this. There's three transfers. There are four. There's four. Augustinus, and then three other sophomores.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, okay.
All right, let's buy the VMI and the VMI Citadel debate. Let's buy a VMI, sell Citadel.
All right, VMI plus 20,000. Let's see, wagering $10 will get me $2,000. Let's go.
Who was that guy I really didn't like on Citadel? His name is not showing
that
up.
Was 2 years ago, wasn't it? The shooter?
Yeah, the skinny white kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's their whole team, but
well, yeah, not far from our whole team either.
I hope the football guys don't play basketball.
All right, so real quick, give me your top three and your predicted conference champ. Grant, go.
Let's see. I think I'll go. Did you say top four, top five? What'd you say?
Top three.
Top three. Let's go. ETSU 3, Chat 2, and I think Samford has the pieces, even though no one's done it in the last 9 years to repeat Samford. So sick. I just like the new guys coming in, the guys with big time experience, the two SEC guys, Julian Brown from NCAA tournament experience with Wagner. I just like Samford's ceiling is a bit higher than the other guys.
Mike?
Gosh, can I say the same thing as Grant? Because
this is still America. Kamala has not been elected yet. Kidding.
I might switch up. I might go Chat at 3, ETSU at 2, and I'm feeling good about Samford, which is very rare for me. But I'm going Samford.
Everybody sell
Samford to win it all.
Sell it. If Mike is buying it,
sell all day.
Yeah, Sam, this conference is unburdened by what has been. So,
You know, guys, it hasn't been done since
Thank
2015.
you. I gotta laugh.
I
Yeah.
didn't get it, Grant. I'm sorry.
No,
A
that
lot of
was
things go over my head.
That
was a
do call me
Kamala
Grant.
reference, so that was a great
I
Kamala
got
reference.
it, Grant.
Good.
I got
Hey,
it.
thank you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Obviously, I'm not on her train, but anyway, I know it hasn't been done since 2015, as you said, Grant. But very, very rarely have you had in this era of basketball, um, an infusion of talent in an already talented youthful team with a coach like this. It is fairly similar to, I would have argued, UTC's team that underperformed last season. Gives a lot of the same vibes. And I think if there's going to be a repeat champion, this is a pretty good chance. It's because it's just hard to compare the last 10 years with the last 5, right? It's a totally different landscape in college sports. And with all the tumultuous roster turnover we've seen across the league, the divide is only going to grow each season between the haves and the have-nots. You're going to whiff on a whole lot more transfers. And if Samford hits on just a few of these guys, they're going to be top 2 team in the conference with a shot there at the end in Nashville. Obviously, the tournament's one game, one elimination tournament. So you could lose to Citadel on a bad shooting night, and it could happen. But I'm not picking Samford. I'm picking ETSU, but I do think it could happen this year. It's not a far-fetched idea. Because my theory is the same. It's UTC, ETSU, Samford. But I just think the big men that they brought in, the style of play matches up well with kind of the softer style of play the SoCon has.
Yeah, I think the conference will be better this year than last year, so it will be a tougher test for Samford. It's like the top teams that we've been discussing are better than they were last year.
Years ago. It's not as good as 2 years ago. That 2 years ago, it was a murderer's row between UNCG, Western, Furman. Even Samford was pretty good.
I don't know that it is going to be better than last year.
You don't
maybe so? Overall teams. Okay, maybe overall teams, but not individual talent because
last year, dude,
every team seems to have lost at least, other than Wofford, at least 2 stars.
Yeah.
Samford lost all of them, but
4.
Yeah, that's
4.5.
Yeah.
Just think about what Furman lost. Think about what UNCG lost, what Western lost. Mercer had those freshmen that were, unfortunately transferred out and their coach got fired. But we'll see.
I mean, dude, honestly, last season, you had coming into the season, UNCG with the Langley brothers thinking that they were going to be a dominant force. They weren't. You had Western thinking that they were going to. Western was probably the best team other than Samford last season on paper.
And they finished 5th.
Yeah. So I think I'm with Grant. I think this season is going to shape up better. But to your point, Mike, a lot of teams lost a lot. And did they replenish it to the same level?
That's
hard to
the
say.
Question.
Hard to say. All right, guys. Any other comments about Samford, about the SoCon before we get to State of the Bulldogs? It's been a pretty thorough preview. We've gotten into the roster composition, a little bit of roster dynamics, a little bit of scheduling outlook, and then a little overview of the conference.
Samford returns the same staff. Everybody's the same from last year. Same, at least the top assistants are the same, so that's good. Have continuity there.
That's good. That's a good point. Mike, anything else?
No, if you're still listening, DM us your thoughts.
If you're still listening, you are pumped for Tip against Mississippi College.
Tweet at me. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. All right, boys, to wrap it up, State of the Bulldogs, briefly. Women's soccer beat UNCG in the final game, and we will play the winner of UNCG and Citadel in the SoCon tournament this Friday. I think that game's on campus. And then women's volleyball. Team's in a slump, boys. We were praising them. They were on fire, looking so good. We have now lost 3 straight matches to UNCG, Wofford, ETC, but got to bounce back. We got a lot of a lot of the season left to play, and then we have Western and ETSU immediately up this week. So, ladies need to bounce back, but we've seen the flashes of what this team could be. The potential is still there. So hopefully they get it turned around. But we're excited for basketball. Let's all hope for a dub against the Terriers for homecoming. How embarrassing would it be to lose to Citadel and then Wofford in homecoming? I mean, Sean Watson at Wofford, snake oil salesman. Come on. Let's beat those Terriers. But Grant, Mike, it was fun breaking down the upcoming basketball season. Boys, if we can replicate a tiny sliver of the excitement we had last season, it'll be a fun one. But we'll see. It's always a challenge in the SoCon. No one's repeated since 2015. Let's hope that changes.
Stateofthebulldogs.com.
That's right. And subscribe to the Samford Scoop. With that, State of the Bulldogs is out, and we hope everybody has a fantastic rest of the week and weekend. And if you're going homecoming, enjoy. But with that, State of the Bulldogs is out.